Welcome to another episode of Just One More Fix. This is James. With me in this episode is Carrie, Lee, and Lacey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello. You can find us online at justonemorefix.com or on Twitter at justonemorefix. If you like us, head over to iTunes or to Google Play and give us a rating and a comment. In today's episode, we're going to have the first ever gaming roundtable, hopefully of many. And now, it's time to get our gaming fix. Welcome to Just One More Fix. So, to set this up, we decided there are several things we've kind of talked about that don't really constitute a full episode. So, we thought we might just have kind of a One More Fix roundtable and just kind of...
This could be the best or the worst episode you've listened to.
This
We're
is
not
very
sure
possible.
Yet.
So
or both, depending on where you quit listening.
Exactly, yeah. So... we're probably going to ramble on and jump around from topic to topic, so stick with us if you can. And if this works, great. And if it doesn't, well, this might be the first and only roundtable that we do. So we'll have to see how things go. So...
okay, so I feel like it's hard to just jump in not to have anything to talk about. So I just thought maybe we would get our feet wet in the roundtable discussion with the Facebook pop topic that I posted.
What was that? I know I replied to it, but I don't remember.
Where do you keep your future game ideas?
So these are not just like, this is the campaign I want to run and this is my designated 7th C notebook. This is, I had a great idea for an NPC, but I don't know what game it belongs in yet, or a setting, or an event that's going to happen, and it just doesn't belong somewhere yet. Where do I keep those?
I have a pretty neat notebook. I decided I would use it, and then I forgot to write my idea down. But still decided I would do it, and I will. I have a cool idea for a noir game, but I have no idea what setting I want to run it in, or what system, excuse me. So there's that.
I have lots of notebooks. They're kind of all over the house, and I have no idea which games are in which notebooks.
Just so everyone at home knows, Lee has a habit of losing notebooks. So we have a game that people are invested in, and then lo and behold, a notebook goes strangely missing, and now we can't play anymore.
The war
I'm not
bait
really lost.
Sad day. Yeah, that may be. He just might be like, screw this game. Screw them players. They suck. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I was just going to say I don't really have a system for it, which is what kind of led me to ask the question in the first place, because I was listening to a song on my Pandora and had a spark of genius about a character, PC or NPC, that needed to be created at some point. Hold on, I'll look up what it's called. It's something about a tattoo of your name across my soul, but I don't remember. Okay. You go ahead and say what you're going to say, and I will find that.
Okay, so I have this thing where I have all these cool books that you can write in, and I think they're awesome. Like, I've got the giant ledger, like Captain's Ledger style one that I never wrote anything in because I wanted to make sure whatever I put in there was awesome, which means I never wrote anything in it. And I've done the same thing with a ton of other cool, like, little notebook things that I've gotten. So I decided to just not do that anymore, and now I have like a little hardback journal that I carry with me in my bag, like when I go to work and that kind of stuff, and that's what I use. And it seems to work pretty well because now I just write anything in it that involves gaming. So I've gone from not using anything at all to trying to use this, and it's, I don't know, working so-so. What's your song? You're looking at me.
So the name of the song is Tattoo of Your Name, and it's by a group called Vast.
I don't know who that is, but
it's a good song.
I'm sure it is. I don't know. Yeah.
If you have 2.5 to 3 minutes,
YouTube it, whatever.
YouTube it.
Maybe we'll link it in the show notes. So yeah, I don't know. Like, that's what I've gone to now, and it seems to work okay. I don't know. Sometimes I used to use my phone for a while. I used to use an app that was like a mind mapping app that was like, do you know what a mind map is? Like the little circle and like with the
use
lines.
them in like creative writing.
Right. So you like right in the middle of it will be like what the campaign is about. So it's like, slay the dragon, and then you'll draw a line, go into a thing that might have ideas for NPCs that relate to the dragon, and then
Interestingly enough, that's usually how I plan my games, is with a mind map. That's how I did the whole not Revenant. What's the word I'm thinking of?
Risen.
The whole Risen game that you and Kurt were in started out with a mind map.
You should stick with that because that worked really well for you. I do the same thing, except mine are like scenes. My scenes kind of like work out like a mind map. And that's how I do mine. But yeah. So
I like to tell other people my idea because I figure if they mention it again later, that means they want to play the game. And so I should really get to work on it.
Yeah, but what if it's like a really good idea for something that's going to happen in the game, and then you can't tell them because then they'll know what's going to happen.
The prince is totally going to betray you guys. I mean, never mind.
All I have to say is poorly.
He never gets any surprises.
No
Aw.
more surprises.
Yeah, I try not to bounce any ideas off of anybody because I run like even like JD and Juan and people and stuff. You know, like I don't like bounce ideas off them because I knew like we may end up playing in a game with them or whatever. So I tend to be a silo with how I kind of do that kind of stuff. That way, it's a surprise to anyone.
I will say, if you find a good gaming companion who you know is really good at not metagaming,
Right,
treasure them.
right.
So I guess what I'm really hearing here is that none of us currently have a really useful, good system for this. So if you're listening out there and you have a really useful, good system that's working, please let us know so we can share it.
Yeah, so just drop it in the comments below, or you can email us at james@justonemorefix.com or whatever, or Twitter or Facebook, our group on either one of those two, and let us know what you guys use. Because I think I've had a few systems that have worked, and then I kind of got away from using them, and then came back and forth, and it's like the on again, off again girlfriend kind of a thing for me. So
For the New World of Darkness game I was running, I had a flowchart, and you guys followed the flowchart.
right
kind
on,
of.
kind of as most
More or
things go.
less.
Lacey and Carrie did. James, not so much.
It happens.
I guess you could say me and Carrie were going with the flow.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, that was better than Lee's bug pun.
You're right. But all right, so
Puns are the highest form of humor.
or not.
Yes, they are.
Nah. So, what else? Anything else you guys have done in gaming or wanted to do here recently that pop into mind?
I would like to run a game.
About?
Nope, that's it. That's
Just-
my
you just wanna
entire
run a
goal.
Oh, right on. That should be easy
For
to
those of you
accomplish.
that don't know, I am currently in some serious college, and work and education are a major buzzkill.
This is true. This just in, we have almost exactly 1 hour and 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1. 1 hour even until we actually get to make our hotel reservation for Gen Con. And from what I hear, all the downtown hotels are already booked, which is kind of a bummer because we like the NBC suites quite a bit. It's pretty awesome. But we'll see where we end up at. I don't know. I have seen that there's a lot of people that are canceling their reservations, or they're not their reservations, their badge, because they're so frustrated with it. But
The thing is, though, like I don't really know what the optimal solution
I don't either.
for
Indy
housing
doesn't,
is.
Indy doesn't have enough hotel rooms for Gen Con. You know, for the size of it, for everybody to be downtown, it just doesn't. But at the same
I mean,
time,
I love Gen Con there, and I love Indy, and I think it's a great, friendly downtown atmosphere, I guess, as opposed to
it's not like in
like
Chicago.
Chicago's not bad, but it's a little more.
Yeah.
I think have to be a little more careful and aware if you were doing it in Chicago.
Well,
But
Indy reminds me of the biggest little city you will ever go to because
Yeah.
it's a decent sized city. There's like 500,000 inside the donut, like in main Indy, and then there's quite a few people that live what they call outside the donut, outside of 465. If you're not familiar, but it is still a small town feel in a lot of ways, which
No,
is
I
nice.
think more importantly than even the lack of hotel space is just transportation. Like the public transportation system is not nearly as robust as you're going to see in some actual
Right. Well,
big cities.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this earlier. That Chicago is the third largest city in the U.S. So, like, obviously, they have a very robust mass transit system. And the L, everything is basically 3 blocks from either side of the L. 'Cause that's how the city has kind of grown up. But so I don't know. We're still going to go. There's no way we'll cancel our badge. And we live in Indiana. From us to Indy is about an hour and a half. So if we had to, we could make the trek back and forth if we had to. But
Lucas Oil Stadium, Tent City.
I don't know that I want to sleep in a
Maybe.
tent,
Do they
man.
have an AstroTurf there? Because I mean, those things are pretty squishy.
You could stay on the turf at the.
I can
at
tell
the-
you from
at
all
the-
of my
at the
years
Lucas
as a
Oil.
marching band geek that there is a
Ooh.
definitive difference between the AstroTurf and the regular turf.
Right. That wouldn't be a bad idea if you wanted to like sell camping space on the Colts field. Although I bet that would be a lot of hoops to jump through with
Could be.
the ownership of the stadium in order to be able to do that.
I don't know, like cash is king. If there's nothing else going on Lucas Oil Stadium, prime camping real estate right there.
Driving your tent stakes into the AstroTurf, that'd be a good time, right? Ding ding.
Right, but you know, with the setup of walls all the way around it, I'm not really sure that stakes would be a necessary
People
thing.
make bad decisions all the time, and come
I'm just
on,
saying, with some
somebody,
some
somebody's going to
you
do
know,
it.
rules
If
set up.
irons come with instructions that say remove clothes before ironing, someone is going to drive a stake into the AstroTurf. I'm just saying, okay, that's a reality that you have to learn to deal with.
Listen, I'm not going to say that gamers are smarter than everyone else, but they are. And I think we can be relied on to generally make pretty good decisions.
I would say that there are a lot of gamers that are not adept at setting up tents.
Right, and they'll be staying in hotels.
I don't know. I guess we'll see our Gen Con woes here in a little bit. I've seen a lot of people that are upset. I don't know. I'll be happy if I'm inside the donut, to be honest. We can Uber or drive it if we have to.
But more importantly, cosplay.
Yeah.
It just seems like a natural segue, I'm just saying.
Wow, we haven't made a decision as what we're going to do. So, like, just so you guys know, we every year we go as a big group of people. There's about 8 of us, sometimes as many as 12, I think, that cosplay as a group.
This will really only be our 3rd year of the big group cosplay.
It's true.
Yeah.
So we did Lord of the Rings first.
Right. So we had Gandalf, Sam, Frodo, the main character. God, that was bad.
An excellent Gimli.
Right. Gimli, Aragorn, Boromir, Pippin, Legolas. I think, was that it? That was 8 of us that time, right? Was that everybody?
Yeah, I think that was it.
So we were walking around the trade floor and doing different stuff. So if you saw the giant group of people that were walking around, we were also on the One Ring by on the One Ring role playing games Facebook page for a while of us in front of their booth, which was a good time.
And then last year we did an X-Men conglomeration. There was some evil and some good.
Split right down the middle, actually.
Pretty close, yeah. We had and also a miniature family thing within the big thing.
I was Azazel and Lacey was Mystique, and our oldest son Isaiah went as Nightcrawler. And we got a lot of people that were like, "This is parenting done right. You guys are so awesome." So it was very cool, a lot of fun.
Yeah, the larger party was even more impressive. We had a Storm, a Wolverine, a Cable, a Rogue, a Emma Frost, a Harvey,
Harry Leland.
Harry Leland. Dang it.
Technically,
Sorry.
Baby Hope was there.
Yes, yeah, we had a plastic Baby Hope. And am I forgetting anybody? Was that everyone?
Juggernaut.
Oh, Juggernaut. Hello, my other brother.
And the Buckethead Juggernaut, with the giant helmet on, not a lot of the other Juggernauts you see, which was pretty awesome.
I actually had someone come into the bar the other day and say, "Hey, you cosplay. We just become Facebook friends." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "When was this?" I was like, "At Gen Con. You'll recognize us from our group picture." And he said, "I was there." And yes. And it was pretty awesome.
Right on, man. Right on. So I'm not sure what we're gonna do this year. We're like way behind the timeline to get things moving. So
as far as a smaller thing, I would really like for Isaiah to go as the 10th Doctor, and James as a Cyberman, and me as a Weeping Angel. I think that would be pretty epically awesome.
I agree.
I still like the Arkham gym class idea we had.
Arkham Phys Ed department.
Yeah.
We also did Arkham characters.
Yeah, we
this
did.
year,
We
too.
did an Arkham thing, so everybody went as different Arkham characters. So I was Dexter Drake, the magician.
We
I'm
could
really
have-
Sister Mary. That's about as close as I'm
We could have
getting
the
to
Arkham
Sister.
gym class playing dodgeball, and periodically have somebody that's not in the Arkham gym class show up in the sides, the viewing area, and they could run over and sacrifice that person.
I just
a few
want to be
times.
the gym teacher with the uber short shorts and the tall socks with the stripies on them, with my one leg raised, standing there with like half a sack.
Don't forget
hanging
the
out.
whistle.
But nobody
yeah.
else wants to see that.
I don't care. It's okay. Nobody wanted to see it in my gym class either, but hey, we were all there.
Actually, the large group cosplays are a bit of a challenge because we have a pretty even split of men and women.
Yeah, that is
And
true.
there's a lot of larger cosplays that are all men or all women, but it's harder to find some that are an even split with all characters still being easily identifiable. So you're not playing, here's the main series characters, and by the way,
Dick
here's a
Recruit number
character
5.
from season 2, episode 4, single appearance.
It's like in what's the movie? The guy that laughs and claps his hands.
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. It's like it's like when they're at the convention and the guy in the red shirt gets off is like, it's recruit number 4. Nobody wants to be that guy. So
We have the added difficulty of trying to find a role playing group every year cosplaying group every year that involves a character with a beard,
yeah.
Somebody's attached.
like physically and metaphorically.
Mostly mentally.
I like my facial hair. It's like women's makeup. I change it every day. I don't really care.
This
It
is
comes and
just
goes.
an untapped asset. All right,
To what?
cosplay.
Oh, I feel like it's been tapped.
Giggity.
So, what else? Anything?
I'm sure there's more. Hold on.
What do you do if you have a game that you really want to play and your chosen game master won't run it.
Made.
Except the fact that we run the games that we want to play and run the game you want to play.
Who are you talking
So
about?
it could be anything. It could be Made. It could be 7C.
It could be the fact that Lee wants to play really bad in Dark Heresy, but I don't want to run it anymore, so Lee should just suck it up and run Dark Heresy. Kurt, I don't know if he really wants to play in Made or what.
But I do.
Oh, you do? Well, then you and Kurt should just get together and you can have your lone wolf game of Made.
I'm also down with some Made.
Well, there you go. There's the Made group. Done.
I feel like we could do a nice infestation game segue into Made.
No,
Oh,
then we're not doing our job
boy.
right.
No.
It'd be like kind of like Ghostbusters, right? When your house looks like infestation, who are you gonna call?
Made.
Yeah.
That's the wrong genre.
That's no. That's no. No.
Hey, we did consider for cosplay a male Ghostbusters and female Ghostbusters.
Oh, we did
Like,
talk about that.
side by side.
Old school
would be
versus
kinda
new school.
neat, right?
Right. Yeah.
New school has more toys.
We could go as Sunday strip characters.
That's not Gen Con fun though.
Did you say something about Sunday school?
No, like the Peanuts or whatever.
Oh.
Like
I volunteer to go as Hagar the Horrible.
I still really want to do Warhammer 40K, but I
Start printing.
have to get off my butt and start printing armor. Yeah, I've got the stuff to do it now. I've got the Paper Cura thing to convert the STLs into, or convert the Paper Cura things into STLs, which is what you use to print on the printer. But I just haven't done it yet.
3D printing is so awesome.
I agree.
All three of our children have sonic screwdrivers now.
They were custom made on a screwdriver, so I printed a whole batch of different pieces, and then they picked which pieces they wanted together. So they got like pieces of the 9th Doctor sonic screwdriver and pieces of the 12th and pieces of the 11th, and then like put them all together to make their own sonic screwdriver, which is pretty cool.
You can find a pretty sweet picture on Lacey's Instagram.
Oh, is there?
No,
Yes.
it's on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
Oh, I still have to paint them. I
Yeah.
haven't painted them yet, but they look pretty awesome. They're fun. So that's something I was thinking about the other day. It was a Doctor Who tabletop game. I know that they make a Doctor Who role playing game, but
See, I have reservation. We talked about this is one of our potential topics for conversation about role playing in a set. What was the word you used?
an IP, an established IP, intellectual property is what that stands for.
Yeah. So Doctor Who,
So let me
Firefly.
This seems far
Star
more
Wars.
specific. Doctor Who seems far more
Dr.
specific.
Let's
I
get
said-
a Google right now.
Who said? You said. We said. She said. I said. TARDIS said. No.
Doctor Who seems far more specific than, say, The Song of Ice and Fire and Star Wars, which you don't like for that exact same reason.
Well, no, I don't mind Star Wars games. They're not my favorite to play in. But
I
like
mind them.
Indiana Jones is another one that I've seen, and one of this is what something I was going to mention to you, because there's a problem with Doctor Who in that Doctor Who is uber competent, and the companion is sort of like, hey, I'm gonna kind of tag along and get in trouble, and then you can come rescue me and whatever. But in the Indiana Jones in the Indiana Jones role playing game, the person that plays Indy rotates. So like in this session, you'll play Indy, and you'll play Short Round, and you'll play the
Pretty girl.
Marion. And then
Sexy lady.
yeah.
It depends on the movie.
And then after that, then Carrie, you're gonna play Indy, and then you'll play Short Round, and then you'll play Marion.
It's an interesting idea. I'm not completely against it, but I don't know. I have reservations about the idea, but I'd be willing to give it a try.
It was kind of neat. It was just a neat idea.
It's definitely a better way to approach it because, I mean, if you're playing an Indiana Jones role-playing game, everybody wants to play
he's
Indiana Jones.
right.
Nah. He always messes up at the end.
But the hat.
I don't care.
And the whip.
And he's afraid of snakes. Too
And
many
the-
flaws.
and the
Way
gun.
too many character flaws.
They can all
might
be
say he's a real
discredited with
character.
a cunning hat.
I don't have any flaws.
I volunteer to play the guy with the beard.
There
So his
isn't
dad?
one. Yeah, I guess
There
there's
is.
Sean Connery. and that's
Sean
it.
Connery.
The other one.
Dr. Jones.
In The Last Crusade, he
The
lowers
dad.
them down into the
No,
temple.
the
with snakes.
big
Oh.
the big like Arab
He's
guy.
not. He's in a couple movies. He's not in just that one.
Yeah, I know. That was he's just more in that one than the other one.
He's in the Ark movie, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and because he's in one of the desert scenes when they're trying to do excavation and stuff like that. I think so. But
What bothers me is when you see a sci-fi movie and all the aliens are played by humans.
it's terrible. Oh man.
I'm not ready to see aliens on TV. Sorry, guys. That was a good joke. You can laugh. It doesn't have to be forced.
It didn't involve it didn't involve a pun. That was the problem.
I think maybe the thing is that I just like playing dwarfs because the guy that plays him is the same one that plays Gimli.
dwarves.
No, it's not. It's dwarfs. It depends on whether or not you're a dwarf.
And
I'm
you, sir,
pretty,
are
I'm pretty
not.
sure that Snow White spells it dwarves, not
Yeah.
dwarfs.
Tolkien spells it dwarfs
Okay,
and dwarves.
but who is the bigger authority on dwarves?
Tolkien.
Tolkien
No, she lived with 7
or
of them.
Disney?
Totally Snow White.
He wrote about 14 of them.
But she lived with them for 7 years. And I'm just saying.
The character in Indiana Jones, his name is Salah, and he's played by John Rhys Davies, which is the same guy that plays Gimli.
Truly, huh?
Okay.
It's an interesting piece of nerd info. But he's British. So we're still doing 7th Sea.
Actually, I'm super excited. I just got the finalized PDF of the Pirate Nations book, and it has a map of the New World. I haven't read any of the book yet, but it has a new Swords and Schools and some new advantages and stuff. But it has maps that I downloaded that are of the New World, which I'm super excited about because that's really one of the things that I thought 7th Sea was always lacking. Was some of the Spanish Main and the Caribbean stuff is all ripe for piracy, and I'm super excited for that because I saw like 4 or 5 different maps that look really cool and thematic, and I think that'll be the next chapter of our 7th Sea game is we'll be going there and exploring over there. So
Is that going to happen tonight?
we could totally play 7th Sea tonight if you guys want to.
Good. We are
That's
also
what I was hinting at. I just want to throw that out
When?
just a second ago when I said what happens when you want the ST to run a game and he won't do it.
Thought you were talking about your Clockwork game that still hasn't been ran yet.
No.
You know you haven't run Dust since May.
Yeah, I'm aware. That's
of
okay.
2016.
True.
May 2016.
Yeah, May of 2017 hasn't happened yet.
True. I already
I
established.
know. I'm just specifying because it's written on. We have whiteboard, so this is an interesting bit of nerdy organization. We have a mini fridge in our gaming area, as everyone should.
It's a Coors Light mini fridge that dispenses beer with the push of a button, and then the machine says naughty things to you.
Which is also important, other than the Coors Light part, because we're not really avid Coors Light people.
No, not really, but the fridge is kind of cool. I like it. It's fun.
But at any rate, it's got a whiteboard for all of our folks around the gaming table with the games that they currently have going and the date that they were last ran, which is sort of a helpful organization factor, sort of a way of us keeping track of what we like to play, and also sort of a way of creating GM shame. In order to encourage them picking back up of certain games.
Well, it was an interesting thing because for us, I was actually talking about this the other day, we are an odd gaming group in that we have almost 50-50 males to female ratio, which is not a common thing. We also have everybody in our group runs games, which is usually not a thing. There's usually one person that runs, and that's about it. And we also play about any game that's out there, which is not a common thing.
Oh, I would say, though, that has evolved significantly over time.
Yeah.
Because we definitely were not all GMing consistently. It was sort of like James and Lee had GM'd some games, but he didn't really GM regularly at our table. And then we kind of picked up a little bit more of his stuff. We picked up Carrie along the way and kind of last but not least dragged me into the mix.
Right.
I was completely intimidated to run for people that I knew this well and people that ran such good games. It was like, how can I ever come up with something as good as what they've done for me? And so I just wouldn't do it for the longest time.
I feel like I've got mad story for days that is worthy of competition, but I am so just like system anti-system, I guess. Like we've
System
talked about
ignorant.
this before, but like we get to the system part and I commit very little of it to memory, and the more there is, the less probably percentage-wise I
Right.
bother with. So that makes things a little difficult. But at least I know you guys are cool with it. You understand
So
my
hang on.
inherent flaws.
Let's get
So-
back to the whiteboard thing. So this is something that we did because, as I said, we're not the average group, so we play a lot of different games. And it was a nice way for us to make sure that there weren't games that got left behind. Because from my side of it, I would have like 3 or 4 different games going at once. And if people didn't ask about a specific game, then I would just assume, they don't really like that game, and I just won't come back to it. But as it turns out, that was not the case. I just, like, they were just like, no, we just got super interested in this one, and we forgot talking about that one. and we never got back to it. So it's been nice to be able to bring those games back that have kind of trailed off a little bit.
Well, it's kind of like the catch-22. Like you want to play in this new cool game, but you also want to finish the old cool game too. So I feel like that's kind of where we're stuck a little bit at the moment. So like last week, I wanted Carrie to run Lamentations of the Flame Princess because I'm afraid we haven't quite finished that adventure yet, and I want to, and I don't want to leave it for so long that I forget important things that I'm supposed to know.
Yeah, that's totally true.
It's also the second incarnation of this idea we've had, because we did have note cards for a while that were color-coded based on who was GMing.
Yeah. But it worked, but not as well as this one, I don't think. 'Cause this
It
one's
was
like,
less
Seeing it is
visible.
different.
yeah, it's on the wall and it's like staring you in the face. I agree with that very much.
Every time you need a drink, there
Yeah,
it is.
There it is. Bam. Check it out. Yeah, it's been a good one. So it's worked very well.
I yeah, definitely worth the $20 investment I had at Dollar General to make that happen.
Look out. Well, yeah. Well, there's 6 or 8 dry erase boards up there. So I mean,
There's 8.
yeah. So that's a crazy thing to think that we have 8 different people's worth of games on a
I think
board.
it was actually originally there were 6 up there, I believe, and then an extra board and one for games that we wanted somebody to run at some point.
That's right.
So we also keep that up there like, hey, if you're considering you're not sure what to do, you don't have a game going on right now, this is what the players would like to see happen.
Mm-hmm. Which is a really cool thing because it's not something that we look at very often, I think, because we kind of have our own. I think we all like similar kinds of games, so it's an easy thing, that's up there. But it is nice to see, hey, I'm really super interested in this game. It's also made me actually make a list of games that I wanted to run that were up there, which is one of my goals for this year was to try and push through and try a lot of the indie games that we got and hadn't played. And it's helped to do that. We've gotten through most of those now. I would say a good 3/4 of them.
I think it's probably worth saying, too, that we've talked about running a game with an end in mind. And if you kind of plan out and have a rough idea how many episodes you want your game to be, then it's easy to make sure that the games we're interested in get played to the conclusion and that you can kind of plan out how many games you want to run in the near future and make sure that things you're wanting to run
Right.
actually come to fruition as well.
Right. Something I was going to mention, which kind of got sidetracked from. So back to kind of the dust thing you mentioned that I hadn't ran it since May or whatever, but I made the promise that I was going to run 7th Sea until Wraith 20 got here. And that should be happening in about 2 months from the emails that I've seen, is that it should be 2 months from when it's printed and on its way. Now,
Orpheus.
Wraith is cursed. So while they say 2 months, it probably means 4 to 6 because that game just suffers from all kinds of trouble of, the printing has gone wrong or, all kinds of just the Wraith curse. Those of you that are fans of Wraith know what I'm talking about. And then after that, 7th Sea will run until Wraith comes out. And then once Wraith 20 comes out, I'm going to run Orpheus through to its conclusion with the new Wraith system.
Can we take a brief moment at this roundtable conversation to talk about what it is about Orpheus that is so amazing?
Yeah, I'm actually
It's
kinda
sort of
curious.
like the game of legend around our table. And I mean, it's picked up through different games that have been run, too. I mean, it's all of us and it's Kurt, and not always, at the same time. Either we've run
So no, there's been one with
versions.
Fergus. And Lacey, you've been in all of them.
our friend Travis was at the table for
Yeah.
a couple of
And
Orpheus games as
everybody
well.
is very excited about it. And actually, even before I was gaming with you guys, I ran through about the first 2 or 3 books of it with another group that nobody is here from. Yeah, I know. That was JD, Juan, and Keithan, and So what is it for you guys? Where you going, Lacey? Oh, the novel. It's okay. I thought she was leaving. I was like, I'll pause. Yes, we did. So there's an Orpheus novel that has 3 short stories in it that are really good. So what is it about Orpheus, I guess, that it keeps drawing you guys back to it?
For me, I love horror and ghost stories, and I also really enjoy a good Connex investigative conspiracy game, and it is just the perfect mash of the two.
Right on.
There's a big, heavy, I don't know the word, and there's a big push to be social, and there's a lot of interaction, and that's a big part for any game for me. And on top of that, there's all those built-in extras, which is probably just because our ST for that game does a really good job. But there's radio
Amen.
blips,
Oh, yeah.
and there's pieces of paper, and I can see the world. I think every time you've ever ran it, you've ran it in Danville for me, or that's where I've seen in my head.
Yeah.
And I can see it. And every time I run it, the world gets more and more clear and more vivid. And it's something I can picture myself doing. And I'm just there. And I love it.
Right on. That's actually really cool. Right on.
Lee? Thoughts?
It's political, but you have like the mega adventure for Orpheus, and so there's lots of recurring characters, and that's cool. It lends itself to the investigative game, but at the same time, it's not like Call of Cthulhu where I might as well just make peace with the fact that my character is going to die in the next few sessions.
Well, the other thing that's interesting about Orpheus, though, is if your character does die, which we hadn't had in that Carrie's character died.
And mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you started off dead, though. You started off as a spirit, didn't you?
My character died in the maelstrom.
Oh, okay. So, but you that's not the end of your character necessarily. You can become a spirit or a hue and continue to play your character. It does change your character significantly. It changes a lot of things, but it is interesting in that when your character dies, that isn't necessarily the end right away.
And it's a whole new dynamic, especially if there's other characters you have important interactions with and you have to save your moments of manifestation for them.
Right.
That's actually the cool part about Before You Die, too, is that Orpheus has that interesting duality where you almost are playing two completely different characters because your power set and power level is so different when you're interacting in the spirit world versus the mortal world.
Well, it's like if you were a superhero, and every superhero has an alter identity. But the minute that Superman took off his cape and became Clark Kent, he was just some guy that you could punch a hole in. You know, he wasn't Superman anymore. So it is very interesting that power dynamic changes that way, because you go from this super powerful projected entity into just some guy.
Right? Joe.
And it's a World of Darkness system. So getting shot by a human getting shot with a gun without body armor is about as deadly as it gets. It's, you definitely don't want to be in a gunfight,
You're also encouraged to come up with a backstory. You have to have that moment that you touch death in your backstory.
Right.
And it makes you think about everything that your character was. And then as the game progresses, that all gets taken away from you.
Talking about this makes me just want to go downstairs and run this game.
Let's go!
Run this game.
Wait. Don't you want to play 7C?
See, this
yeah.
This is the problem that I have, is that there are certain really stylized games that I really like. And I know when I like a game, and I think it's true for everybody, if you really like a game or a setting, you do a better job running it because you just like it so much. And then it's the same thing that happened with Dust. I'm like, I love this game so much. But then 7th Seek was coming along and I was super inspired. And there's nothing that pushes you away from the grittiness of Diesel Punk and World War II than swashbuckling adventure. There's like nothing in common with the two of them, to be honest. But, and then I just, and then here comes along Orpheus, which is something that I've just loved forever. But,
well, there's something cool about the White Wolf system in general, in that when they create like their merits and things like that and their disciplines, they just give you access to do really cool things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's really some in-depth badassery involved in the disciplines that White Wolf uses in any system that makes it just like really fun. Like you're kind of like counting down how much experience you're going to get and how many sessions you need to play in to get it so that you can do this super awesome thing.
right. I totally agree with that. White Wolf does a good job of, well, they're still around.
Are they?
Yeah. Actually, I'm super excited for anybody.
Didn't you just hear about how Wraith
Yeah, but I thought they were owned by somebody else now.
So Winter 2018 is supposed to be the new release of the new updated Vampire, the Masquerade. They're bringing Masquerade back. All their powers seem to be so flavored. You know what I mean? Like that, like mechanically, some of them are pretty similar, but the way the flavor is and the way they work and connect to the world is so drastically different sometimes. I really like the way they do things.
Well, when you're getting into where you're not a mortal character anymore and you're playing a vampire or you're playing a werewolf, you're so many steps above a mortal person. And
Yeah.
I feel like just the awesomeness of their disciplines really capture that well.
Well, there's something else to mention. Like we've talked about, like just besides the powers, I feel like in a lot of ways people connect to the World of Darkness better than they do to games like Dragonlance and Forgotten Realms, because, and this is something I heard from Kenneth Haidt talk about, is that you identify with those things better. Whether you're an expert on, if we run a game in like during the Russian Revolution, right, the Bolshevik Revolution, right, you may not know all there is to know about the Bolshevik Revolution, but you have this image in your mind. You know the accents, you know what the Kremlin looks like, you know what Red Square might look like, you have all this imagery in your head that's already established because of all the things that you've seen on the news and lived through, right? But when you go and play a Forgotten Realms game, if I say you walk into Shadowdale, Well, you don't even have any, like Lacey, you don't even have any frame of reference for that because you've never even read a Forgotten Realms book. You've never, like, haven't really played in a Forgotten Realms game even. So there's a lot of exposition that has to happen, and you're not very immersed in it because you don't have any frame of reference. Whereas in the other situation, you may barely know anything about Russia, but you know all this imagery and these pictures and have these ideas because of things you've seen in just real life.
I think I agree with that to a certain extent, and like when you're talking about historical fiction games, but a lot of that's going to depend on the player too. So when you say the Kremlin and I have a vivid image of the building, like maybe some people do, but I feel like, okay, now like Ken and Robin are awesome folks and they do some good stuff, but they're both very into history.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think their opinion is probably a little skewed on that fact. I'm not going to say that I entirely disagree with what you're saying, but
Right.
I think it's probably an even bigger factor for your gamers that are more like them.
Right. But even still, what he's talking about, though, is even if you have very little knowledge of Russia, right, you know the
But
accent.
you're familiar with how this
Right.
world works in a
So
Russian
it
accent. That
makes
I would
it-
agree with.
It makes
yeah.
it easier for you to connect to that because now the GM doesn't have to spend any time with exposition about a little bit of Russian culture or whatever, or,
But
He
depending
doesn't
on
have
the
to tell you that Elminster is the greatest wizard in Faerun.
right, everybody knows, everybody knows that's Joseph Stalin. Oh my God, it's Joseph Stalin. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, Elminster, or who's the guy in Undermountain?
Alistair.
Crowley? No, not
No.
him.
I think-
Hallister is his name.
some
I
of
was
the really
close.
good fantasy games that you're going to play are informed by the history of the world we're in. You know what I mean? So like that Shadows of Estern game is very much informed by
Right.
French history. Your Seventh Sea game, you're pulling in elements of
Well,
what
yeah.
we know as
But see,
Spain and
here's the thing,
France
though,
and
is
Germany.
in 7th Sea, when I describe something, though, that's basically just a fictionalized Europe. They're not even trying to combine two things. It's not like they're saying it's like an Italian English thing. Like they're just like, this is England and this is Italian, right? And that's how I describe them to people. And when you play that game, while I love the setting in the world, I think in most people's minds, when I say that this is a Montaigne guy, they're not thinking, oh, this is a guy from Montaigne. They're thinking this is a Frenchman.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I don't know, it's just something to think about. I agree with them to a point, but I still love Dragonlance, and there's nothing that's going to make me not like it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Well, I don't think it's saying either that there's nothing to love in those other systems.
Right.
Just that it's easier to make that jump and
Right.
imagine what the setting looks like and be more involved in that.
True. Very true.
If it's informed by real life.
Well, right on. Well, if we're going to play 7th Sea tonight, I have to be in Farmer City at 7 o'clock Central Time, which sucks. And also our time for our hotel reservation is coming up. So I think this is probably a pretty good place to cut this off. So with some editing, we'll see what we end up with, and hopefully you guys like it. If you do, we'll make it, I don't know, a semi-regular thing. Maybe every couple months we'll do one or whatever. So this,
And if you don't like it, I guess you're going to be forced to go and leave a comment. Ha ha! We tricked you.
right. So let us know what you think, or if there's anything that you want us to talk about, or if you guys have any questions for us or any topics you want us to mention, you can drop us a line on Twitter at Just One More Fix. We have a Facebook group. It's linked on the JustOneMoreFix.com webpage, or you can drop any kind of comments you want on our webpage again as well. Or you can email me or Kurt at James at Just One More Fix, and Kurt is Kurt at JustOneMoreFix.com. I don't think I've set anybody else up, but if you guys want me to, I could.
I barely check my own email.
It's true. It's okay. So, all right. Well, if nothing else, let us know what you guys think, or if you have any questions for us. As I said, you can hit us up wherever at the places I just told you about. Yeah. So if nothing else, I guess we will talk to you guys next week, and enjoy some gaming. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Just One More Fix. Music has been provided by Kevin MacLeod. You can find him at incompetech.com. You can find us at justonemorefix.com and follow us on Twitter at JustOneMoreFix.